Welcome to another National Association of Pre-Sort Mailers informational video. This is going to be a quick snapshot video of a nuance to the seamless acceptance program. In January this year, the post office made some changes to the undocumented logic and added an undocumented category 14. So we're going to run through some slides here and then take a look at what this new category is and try to give some people some assistance. So in January, and this took effective on January 23rd, but in the January 20th user group 11 meeting, the post office announced that they were changing some of the logic around assigning undocumented pieces. We were a little disappointed that we didn't get some heads up on this, but it was an issue that the post office has had since the beginning of undocumented mail and assignments. So they forged ahead. They added the new logic. Their original plan was to kind of look at how the data flowed for a few months until the end of April, and then starting in May, people would be assessed for undocumented pieces in this new category. Thanks to NAPM, this warning period has been extended to August or later. And that little diagram down here at the bottom is just, this is how the undocumented will show. It used to be category 1 through 13, so now we have a category 14. So just to kind of review, before this, the post office used bookending logic to assign undocumented pieces. So that meant if you had, it's a bookend, right? So if the pieces on the right and the pieces on the left belong to you, the pieces in the middle belong to you. We could do a whole video about bookending logic and whether it works or doesn't work, but that's how they did it. And then if the bookending logic couldn't assign it, then they would take the mailer ID on the piece, and that would be who got assigned the undocumented piece. So now the new process, it started in January, is that they're trying to create a one-to-one relationship here. So you know, is the scanned barcode in eDocs? Right, so this is how the piece is created. If it's not an eDocs, it's an undocumented piece. Has that mailer ID and that barcode been found in an eDoc for the last 120 days? And it's been submitted by a single eDoc submitter, so that if you're submitting all your mail and it's all in your eDocs, those 14s are coming to you. We'll talk about some of the problems with that 120 days and a single piece in an eDoc a little later. So what happened then is it's, all those undocumented pieces got assigned to category 14 first. It's the first up in the logic for creating undocumented pieces. The second area, it defaults to bookending logic, and the third, it defaults to the mailer ID on the piece. Why are we doing this? We've been talking, fixing, working, and trying to figure out the undocumented pieces for a while now. So the post office had some issues with the past logic. The current logic was sending undocumented pieces to CRIDs and mailer IDs for people, particularly mail owners, who never look at their scorecard, never thought about undocumented because they never submitted mail. They hand their mail off to MSPs, and so they never had any reason to look at their scorecard. They're not in Seamless, and they just never addressed it. So on the post office's side, they're looking at this going, I mean, look at all these undocumented mail pieces that are getting assigned to all these individual mail owners, and people are trying to figure out how are these are they paid for? I mean, what's the somebody somewhere is like, hey, this doesn't make any sense, and I have to agree. It's like, okay, what's going on here? So uh, they created this new undocumented category. So the early results in the methodology, it's mixed. And we're seeing the process working exactly as it's indicated, and we're seeing the process obviously not working the way we, um, you know, envisioned this process would work. Um, Lots of MSPs are finding that the EDOC, it's incorrect barcode didn't match all the mail, and their mailing list software, and you would have never investigated this without, uh, without Category 14. This is good. It's a good thing. Um, it's feedback to MSPs that gives you the ability to look at your process and make corrections as needed, or at least understand that the error's there and then know that that can move to your known undocumented log. Uh, some of the negative feedback, you we're looking at mail owners, spraying IMB on a piece in smaller mailings, and they send to the USPS with non-full service or postal wizard paperwork, right? Well, what happens is these pieces are getting assigned back to their MSP, uh, because the MSP does all their mail, even though that the mail owner may submit their own mail as well. So that's a little that's a flaw in the logic. For us, we've actively engaged the post office in this. We've got a variety of information we've provided them on members and issues and things that we're seeing. Uh, and like I said, we're responsible for the delay in implementation to make sure that if we're going to make this change, we do it right. So if you've never looked at your scorecard to see if you've got Category 14, the big thing here is you need to do this. You need to look at your scorecard. You need to look at these undocumented 14 issues. Um, excuse me. Uh, we need to take a look, and then if you've got to report your findings, do some investigation, talk to the post office if you see significant issues. So this is just this is the original 13 undocumented categories. I'm not going to go through this at all. This is just, you can find this in the Pub 685. Just shows you that this is the way that they looked for undocumented pieces before. So here's this is right out of the post office's discussions of this. The Postal Service has determined that many mail owners use a single EDOC submitter. This singular relationship presents an opportunity when confirmed with historical data to assign these undocumented pieces from the mail owner scorecard to the EDOC submitter where they belong. And this general assumption, although not completely flawed, is incorrect. Mail owners have no idea what undocumented mail is or what causes undocumented mail. Mail owners use multiple MSPs. One of the bigger issues we're seeing is that BME staff is telling mail owners that it's not their fault, it must be their MSP's fault. So it's it's just it's not a perfect scenario. There's more layers to the onion than just, oh, send all these pieces to your MSP because they're theirs. Here's some things we're seeing. We're seeing large volumes of mail being assigned back to EDOC submitters with no history of processing mail for the MID that's assigned back to them. the current logic, if you have one piece in any of your eDocs that is that it belongs to one of these undocumented, you can end up with all the category 14s for that uh, uh, that MID. It it could be a data error. It could be a read issue on your side. So having one piece in a mailing, somebody in a combined mailing in particular, somebody could have thrown a mail piece into the wrong tray instead of sending it to the post office, and their full postage mail went back into your mail, and so we're seeing these large volumes of mail based on one IMB in a mailing in 120 days. There hundreds of thousands of mail pieces are being misassigned to MSPs that don't belong there. Mail owners who enter their mail without eDocs, all these pieces are getting tracked back to the MSPs. Tracking mail MIDs are being used by tracking companies. They're not specific to mail owners. They're moving around to different mail owners. Again, all these pieces are tracking back to the original, to the MSP who used that MID at one point in time. All the undocumented errors from 1 to 13 are now being reassigned to category 14 if that's where they belong. So your undocumented totals are low right now. So if you think you're doing great, it's because your undocumented pieces have moved to category 14. These are warnings. They are not showing up in your scorecard. They have moved down to this line right here with a big red arrow, category 14 warnings. So in this scenario for this mailer, they really have 3,961 plus 122 undocumented pieces. So you have to look to see if all your undocumented pieces have moved to category 14 and now you're under threshold and you're regular undocumented. You better look and start looking at this, because eventually these are going to end up as real undocumented pieces. So you have to be careful. You have to be aware of what's happening. So how do we look at this? It's real easy, right? We do a right click on the CRID and we go into the undocumented category report. We do a left click on the category report, and here it shows us, in this scenario, right? The vast majority of their pieces are category 14. Now this may be the right place for them, but it may not be the right place. The thing to remember is that all of these categories right here from 24,000 down to 2, those are all reporting on your scorecard as undocumented. None of these 38,478 pieces are in your total. Those are warnings only. So you have to look and you have to investigate. So what happens when you unfold that, right? The mailer ID will unfold each set of pieces that are being assigned to you. You gotta look. Use the mid-CRID tool. There's another great YouTube on that. If the mailer ID doesn't look like it belongs to you, you better figure out who it belongs to, because that becomes the the issue that you need to investigate. So you unfold it again. You got scan cities, and then here's your your report. And again, I've tried to gentrify this so that it's you can't see anything, but you look at this and this is how you figure out, are these real errors? Did these errors move, or is this being assigned to me in an improper fashion? Another thing to look at is look at your mid-usage report. This is actually one of the ways that the post office decides to assign these pieces to you. So when you right-click on the MID and the error details report from the previous slide, it shows you all the MIDs that the post office has seen in your mailings. In this example right here, none of these customers are daily customers of this report. These are all random pieces that have shown up in the last X number of days. So if there was a whole bunch of pieces from Anchor Information Management, they would actually show up on this scorecard because one of those barcodes exists in the mailer ID usage report, and it becomes part of the logic. So that's a quick review of Category 14. Really need to take a look at this. If you want some information on becoming a member of the National Association of Pre-Sort Mailers, you can go to presortmailer.org and take a look at some information on becoming a member. So thanks for joining, and have a great day.